Hi guys, this is a Schuwing tutorial. I'm Dan,
I'm Sonny.
and we're going to show you today how to make some kind of a cool website where it scrolls down, there's 3D parallax happening, and then one of the images at the end comes on and there's a little bit of your text in there. To make this a web page, all you got to do is export it, and what it ends up looking like is something like this, where you're scrolling down, there's images flying everywhere, the last one comes in, and then there's some text that you make, and then just goes on with the rest of your web page. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new project here. This is going to be a in-page pop-out. Going to go ahead and turn this down mode up. This is a way to preview all the different iPhones and everything and how your project is going to look in those things. You can actually do this thing called scale to container so that your entire project will fit inside of whatever device you're using. And if you're going to put it on an iPhone, you're probably going to want to stretch it out to be more horizontal. So I'm just going to turn that off so that we can see our actual project. And maybe we don't want it to be so horizontal. Something like that might work pretty well for our purposes. I can actually hold down Control and zoom the mouse wheel, and then I'll actually zoom in and out. And if I'm not holding Control, obviously I can still scroll. Shift click is going to scroll it horizontally. Excuse me, Shift wheel. And the same thing down here. Holding down Control will zoom the mouse wheel when you mouse wheel, and holding down Alt will zoom the other direction. If you hold down both, it'll zoom both. And then when you are zoomed in, you can just regular scroll, Shift click, regular scroll. So why don't we get some files in here so we can do a sort of a parallax effect. And we just happen to have a bunch of images here which were downloaded with royalty-free images. You can get your images wherever you normally get them. Pixabay is a great website for that. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag all of these in here.
I just wanted everyone to note that this is recorded in real time.
Yeah, we're not accelerating this at all. It's a very quick process once you get the hang of it. So you can actually right-click on the stage here, and what that does is let you free look around in 3D. And you can also, while you're holding that, you can see the WASD keys move the camera around, so I can actually touch those, and that'll move the camera around, so I can kind of zoom around to the side here. And because what I want to do is I want to put all these things kind of in different places in 3D, so I can click here, hit the G key, click and drag, and the other option is just to click one and then hit this move key, this move button over here, and then click. But it's faster to use the keyboard shortcut of G for grab. So I'm just going to move all these in kind of various locations. You can kind of move around too to see, make sure they're not kind of too bunched up. And some of these are a lot bigger than the others, so I can go ahead and scale those down just so that they're not overwhelming in size. I might still have a few in the same spot here. There's a little mountain there. This tree. Actually, there's another one behind the tree. Yeah, there's really a lot of images here, so we can go ahead and click these and get them moved to where we want them to be. Just kind of look around a little more. You can see they're still kind of in the same place, so that's pretty good right there. So we're still free looking, so I can just reset the camera so that it's at the normal position. And then we're going to want the camera to kind of look over all of these, so I'm going to go ahead and animate this camera position here. What I did was click on the camera layer, click on this menu over here, which will let you add an animation to the position. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag the Y. So it starts off way above, and then at the end, I'm going to have it go way down, so all the way down. I'm holding down the Shift key right here so that I can move this faster. If I hold down Control, it'll move it very slowly. If I hold down Alt, it'll move it even slower. And holding Shift will make it much faster. So now, as the scene goes, it really scrolls by. I might be pretty close still. I can move the camera back everywhere by doing the top one, which is the base position, and not the animated position. The animated position will only update at the current frame. So if I accidentally moved it here, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now it's going to go back and forward. And if I want to remove this, I can just right-click and remove this animation point here. And if I have some sort of weird thing like a spin, so the camera would spin. Oh, that's terrible. I don't like spin at all. So you can just totally remove the entire thing, all the spins, just by removing it there. And now we're just back to this up and down, which we like. And so some of these I probably want to move a little bit back and just get them all into place, kind of where I want them. And just do that with the variety of hitting the G while I'm over the stage, grabbing them, and using the Z index here to kind of get them in a location where it kind of looks good as the scene kind of scrolls by. Not to really cover any of them up or anything, but just getting them so that you can kind of see them all, and they're just kind of arrayed in a nice, pleasing manner. I kind of like this one so far forward, but maybe it's too big. Just kind of getting these lined up real nice.
While Dan gets this set up, I can see already that this is an excellent example for photographers.
Yeah, Sonny's more of the marketing guy, so he might be using something like this for like more of a portfolio website, like a photographer or graphics designer who wants to showcase their work and just have a kind of a flashy method to really show it off. So now at the very end here, why don't we just have this tree pop up real big, so I can make some room at the end of the scene here, just kind of dragging that out and zooming out. And this whole scene's probably really short still. I can go ahead and preview it here to see what we have so far. Again, this would be previewing it in an iPhone. And oh yeah, it takes no time at all. So what we can do here is I can hit A deselects, and if I hit A again, that'll select all. Another option down here is to, if I just hit A to deselect everything, there's this box tool right here. I can just box over the entire scene. And then there's this transform tool, which is also Control-T. And then I can just make everything bigger. Just make everything take a lot more time, so it's a lot slower. So there's time to enjoy it as you scroll by it. So let's see. That's much longer now, and yeah, now as we scroll by, it takes a little time. This first one might be a little bit too early still. So we moved a bunch of stuff around, but we have to get the camera back so that you can't see anything when you first start. And same for down here. We can actually leave a little bit on the screen here because we're going to go ahead and let this tree come into the screen. So I'm going to click this tree. You can see it's this layer down here. And then I can actually animate. If I click this animating button here, whenever I move it, it'll actually create a keyframe down at the bottom there. So if I go to the end and then I move it again, so now it's actually going to do exactly where I moved it in those keyframes. So in this next keyframe, I can just go ahead and also pop it way forward, maybe scale it up. So I can add an animation here to the scale where it gets big enough, right to where I want it. And I'm still animating, so all these moves that I'm doing are going to be applied to this animation frame down here. And then I want to make sure I go ahead and clear the scale back here where the animation started. So now this tree is nice and in play, and maybe throughout the next point we can just kind of have it move over ever so slowly. Maybe I'm going to actually have it only move on the X, so just only X.
Can you only animate pictures, or can you animate other things as well?
You can animate anything in this edit panel is all animatable. And let me show you, how about a text layer? So if you right click down here, you can add things before. Let's add some text. And so as you remember earlier, we moved the camera position way down. So this text layer is probably right in the center, right up there. So we're going to have to bring that down. And again, that's just right clicking on the stage, and you can look around to find wherever the thing you added is at. And just going to bring that down to where we are right now.
I see. So it starts out at the starting point of the animation.
Yes, it does. And so we bring that in play right there. Go ahead and give it a white color just so it contrasts against the background, and we can make sure that we see it against the dark background. And make it a nice big size. And say something like, "Hello world."
And these are Google fonts that you're using?
Oh yeah, these are all the Google fonts. Once you select one, it'll load in there, and you can kind of see it in this menu and on the screen. And you can also just search the Google website and figure out what font you want, and then pick it in here. So this is kind of a nice old world look with almost like a Lord of the Rings type of thing. So you got a text layer here. Yes, you can animate any of these things. Animate the colors if you want to. But you can also do these cool things called filters, and so inside of this text layer we can add the filter, and like a drop shadow is kind of a standard one. So there's a drop shadow in here, but you actually have to connect it. There's this filter system which allows you to stack many filters together. A lot of them have multiple different options. Some of them have multiple inputs you can do. Drop shadow is a real simple one. It's just the main image, and it just goes right out. It just adds a drop shadow. Real simple and straightforward. And you can see here, as you move the text over, it might actually cut off. And that's just how SVG works in the browser. And I added a nice function here where you can just add a little bit of padding if your effects are such that they are gonna be big enough to cut off the screen. So another cool feature that's a little bit more complicated would be adding we could call it a Gaussian blur filter, and also a FE color matrix filter. So I'm just going to stack those up. First it goes to the blur, and then it goes to the color matrix, and it kind of creates a nice water effect. And if you look online for SVG effects, you can find a whole lot of examples of people basically showing you how to make really interesting effects using just SVG filters. So I'm going to add a little bit of a blur, and why don't we go ahead and animate this part. So at the beginning here, we can just have a nice, really big blur.
And it looks like the filters are being applied in the order that they're connected.
Yeah, so if I would apply the drop shadow earlier on, you would actually see the blur applied to the drop shadow as well.
Gotcha.
And you can rearrange these filters, and a lot of interesting results are possible when you apply these. So now, so why don't I go ahead and apply quite a big blur amount to this. And for some reason that is not working. I wonder what's up with that. Let's just go ahead and reconnect some of these wires. Oh yeah, okay, there it goes. It's working now. We just want a little bit of a blur there. And then at the end it'll be gone. But the main thing for this is the color matrix, which we can animate as well. And at the beginning here, we can kind of ramp that up. And actually this looks a lot better if you do it at the end. Otherwise the white and the black kind of, they get a little blurred together, and it just looks a little funny. But if you do it at the end, it looks like a nice watery effect.
Oh yeah, that looks much better.
And if you hold down Control once again, and Alt, you can kind of fine tune these. And then I can just unapply that at the very end so that it kind of just fades into being just a normal text. And I could even have it completely gone until it just kind of fades in. You can't really normally get that from a normal web page, so we can go ahead and preview this in the browser. This is just Chrome, but it works on IE. Wow, that goes really fast in the beginning. We might have to slow that down a little bit. And then the image comes on the screen. Hello. Hello world.
Very cool.
So a lot of web pages don't have this many effects, and like Sonny said, that was all real time. you can definitely improve this as much as you want. If you want to have more of a horizon sort of layout, you can definitely make your scene set up that way. And when you preview it, it might not look as good in a phone, so you might need to have two versions, but it might look a lot better if you look at it in a browser. And we are working on responsive features so that the software can do that for you automatically. But for right now, you probably just need to have two different versions, one for a phone and one for a desktop. So that's some basic features and basic functionality. How to use it. We'll be coming out with more videos as the days and weeks go on. And we hope to see you in beta.
Thanks for joining us.